Okay, so let's go over the setup we need for using the Tabageos library. Pretty much all you need is a computer that you can run HTML5 on with a modern web browser, and space to store a few little files. You don't need to run a server or anything like that. You can if you want to, but you don't really need to do that. Okay, and but one thing you will want as you code is code completion for what you're doing. There's a few different programs, a few different editors that do JavaScript code completion for you. I think Brackets does, VS Code does, something from NetBeans, Eclipse. There's a JavaScript thing for Eclipse that does code completion, and I believe WebStorm does JavaScript code completion. Notepad++ also has something for code completion that you can do, where you can define for yourself methods and parameters and properties for it to do code completion for. And I've done that for the Tabageos JavaScript library, and I have in the GitHub the JavaScript XML file you need to put in the auto completion folder in Notepad++ so that you get auto completion in Notepad++. Okay, so you go to the Tabageos GitHub, which will probably look different than this by the time you get there, and get that JavaScript XML file. Okay, and then inside of your Notepad++ installation folder in the auto completion folder is where you put that. You replace the old one, the other one with that one. It has the same stuff as the old one, but also the Tabageos library XML'd out for it so that it can do code completion. Okay, and yeah, what I've done is hold. I just called the other one hold so that I didn't delete the old one. It's just there, and so, but that's the one with the Tabageos library in it. Okay, and so what that does is that when we come inside of here, inside of Notepad++ now, even if we don't import anything, the Notepad++ itself now has the Tabageos library in it like that, to where we get code completion for everything, which is very convenient. I can't really imagine doing things without that. Okay, so you get not only for classes but for methods too. Right, so for methods and everything, for generally, I don't think every single thing is there, and some of the newer stuff is not there, but every major thing that you would need is there. So you have your general code completion for the Tabageos library in Notepad++. And in my opinion, Notepad++ is one of the fastest ones. It'll take it a little while once you update that JavaScript file. It'll take it a little while to load up Notepad++ the first time, because it loads all that, but it's not too bad. And then once it's loaded, it runs real fast. But and then, like I said, you don't have to do that. You could use other editors have JavaScript code completion for you already, but you have to first import the JavaScript file and stuff like that. Okay, but let's go over what we would do now next. Okay, so we have that set up for Notepad++ code completion, and then in our folder that we're going to use, we have an index file, and we have the controller pad CSS, and the Tabageos min. Those three things are the basic three files that we need. Okay, you can get them from here or from releases, the releases section, and just click on them here to get them. Okay. Yeah, controllerpad.css and controllerpad.js haven't changed since then. They're still the same, but Tabageos min has changed a bit, and there's going to be new releases here after alongside the release of these videos will also be some new releases, but these all still work for what we're doing in this video. Okay, so Tabageos min you need, and controllerpad.css and controllerpad.js, those three, and That's the main components of the library that has all the classes. Okay, like I said, you don't have to run it from a server. You just need an index file that's going to point to those 3 files, and you're ready to go. Okay, so let's now make a quick platformer here. Okay, so we have our doc type, all right, an HTML head. Okay, title, game. Okay, and then we import our first script, which is JavaScript type. Okay, source is the Tabageos min.js, which we put in that folder. Okay. Okay, the next script is the controller pad. Okay, and the controller pad that does keyboard, all input is operated from this controller pad, which also has its own default styles, which are inside of this style sheet. Okay. Okay, and so with that, we have the whole Tabageos library imported and ready to go, ready to use. Okay, and so we open up the body. Okay, and the basic setup is like as follows: div. Okay, we have a container div that's going to hold everything. Okay, in this case, we're just going to make a small little game scene. Absolute position it. It'll be the only thing on the page, so we'll absolute position it. The width we're going to say is 336 pixels, and the height we're going to say is 144 pixels. Okay, so that's our container div. Everything is inside of it. And div. Okay, and then we have our root div. This is going to be the div that actually holds the game, the canvas of the game itself. Okay, and then also a div for the controller, id equals controller. We don't have to set the style. The controller pad class, the controller pad JS styles the controller for us in all kinds of ways. Okay, and so that's the body generally. Okay, and you're supposed to, when you do a script, you're supposed to keep the script inside the body still, but that's it for the HTML of the body. And we get to the JavaScript now. Okay, so we make us a function that's gonna be our scope of everything. Function. Okay, that's the scope. Okay, we're gonna have a scene. Okay, so this is the array animation object maker. It's the from art to code section of the Tabageos website. Okay, it allows us to take art and turn it into code. We get these arrays here, these kinds of arrays and other kinds of 2D arrays for our scenes we can easily make using this tool. For this platformer, this small little platformer we're making, this is one way to create this scene array. Okay, we can choose a file, and ultimately we'll be making a game using a sprite sheet, and it'll be more complex than this little game that we're making right now. And this is the sprite sheet for it, but you can generally ignore these things for now, in a sense. Okay, because we're just going to make an integer array, this array, from drawing it. Okay, and so the default columns is 40 and the default rows is 40, but for this it's smaller. Okay, so our columns are 21, okay, because 21 times 16 is 336, which is the width of our game, our small game here. So we put 21 there, and the rows is 9, which is the height of the game. And then we hit update, and that updates this section for us here. This is the section we're going to draw into. And the integer array just uses the x, it uses the x index of the tile as the value. And when you hover over a part of the sprite sheet, it'll show you the location of the tile, the specific x and y location, and the x index, and an array of the index. Okay, so for creating an integer array, which is what we're going to do, this is an integer array, meaning that the inner values of it are just integers. It's going to just use the x, the ix, and we want 1. So we can go ahead and use this tile. Okay, and so here's our, right, let me see. Yeah, that's fine. This is our 1, just so we can see it. It's not actually going to draw the green thing or whatever, that part of the tree. It's just so that it's a 1. Okay, so, right, this box is a little small. Yeah, there, see, okay. Okay, so just we have our 1 there, and then other one goes right about there. Yeah. Right about there it's supposed to go. Okay, so I want to erase some. So a 0 spot, this is obviously 0, 0 in the corner here. I don't want to erase these by using that one over it. Okay, and press it again, you can see how it is now. I also want to erase these then. Okay, come back here to this one. Go here like that. Press integer again. Okay, there. Okay, and then a number for number 2. Okay, so that's 1, and then this is 2. Just so that we have a 2, and it goes right there, 3 of them. Integer. Okay, so there we have our array, and then we would just be able to copy it and paste it where we need it. Okay, so that tool helps us to make these arrays just by drawing them. Okay, and we have our scene. Certainly one way you could create it is simply by hand, and you could, even by looking at these numbers, you can see the scene. The 2 will be a certain color, the 1 will be black, and where it's not 0, you can walk on that. And we'll make it a basic ninja class to where he can wall jump inside of there, and wall jump and double jump. Okay, so that's our scene, keeping it all very simple. Next we need our game class, former, we'll call it, that's what it'll be. So good so far. All right, let me end this script, end script, all right, end body, and